Okay, welcome back everyone to our second lecture on church and ministry administration. Nelson, your thought or question? Whatever.
Yes, Pastor. It's like we receive freely and we should give freely. Okay, but nowadays we see some organization to be a part of the organization. They're for membership. They're asking money. They're charging money. In some organization I have seen, and people are also they're paying for that also, even without thinking. This is a Christian organization, which it should be free to be part of that organization. But people are also paying for that per year, per month. So what can we consider this about the people?
So, so spiritual things, so basically we minister freely, but there are expenses towards things. Like example, there's nothing wrong in selling a book, for example, because it costs money to print a book. Or so things like that, to run an organization, it costs money. So obviously there has to be some income. And so when people sell a book or they have some membership fees or something to join an organization, it is we understand that, okay, there's a cost to running the organization, or there's a cost to doing that work. And therefore they are charging a fee or a price for some things. So from a practical, we understand that why churches or ministries may charge certain amounts for certain things. But it shouldn't be the main objective. It shouldn't become like running a business. If the goal is just to make a lot of money out of people, make it like a business, then I think it's wrong. It's we've lost focus. It's like how Jesus, when he entered the temple, he overthrew the money changers, and he said, "Why have you made my father's house a house of merchandise?" Meaning you're making money out of this. They were doing, these people there in the temple, they were doing something important, meaning they were selling these sacrificial animals and birds, and they were helping exchange money. So that is needed because people were coming from far places. They needed to buy the animals or the birds to go and make the offering. But they were exploiting the people, So instead of selling the bird at a certain price, they may sell it about 2 or 3 times more, much higher, because they know these people have no choice. They've come from far away. They've come all the way to make sacrifice. So they're forced to buy. So they are. So that is what Jesus was against. That means they're exploiting. They're making money, a huge profit out of this. So we should be careful in that sense. So the practical side is, it costs money to do certain ministry, to cover your cost, and to maybe to have extra money to do other things. Okay, you charge a certain amount, but don't exploit the people. Don't use those things to exploit. See, I remember. I mean, it's like this. If you want the pastor to lay hands on you and pray, then we will give you seats in the front row. You have to pay so much money. I've heard of those stories. I've never personally done it, but if you want to be seated here, if you want pastor to lay hands and pray, so much you have to give so much money. Things like that. So those things are wrong. We can't charge for spiritual ministry like that. You give whatever you want. What if somebody is there who wants prayer but cannot afford to give? Will you not lay hands on him and pray? So these are things that we have to,
That's
Who's what's that?
Like, if they wish you, so you need to be that church.
You have to send some money, then they'll wish you for your birthday.
They will send you the
Yeah. So all those things, people make money out of it. Yeah. So we should avoid those kinds. Those ways of raising funds we avoid. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about now how some practical things here on managing money. Next word of caution here is to never mix church and personal finances. Keep separate bank accounts. These must be managed separately. And for yourself and for the church staff, you pay a salary that is relevant or appropriate for the kind of work you're doing. And never use church funds to run personal businesses. So that's another problem I've noticed. Some pastors, they're collecting tithes and offerings, they're getting, then they will take that and they will start a business on the side with the church money. People didn't give that money to start a business. They gave that money for you to do the work of the ministry, serve people. So that money must be kept for serving people. And so be very careful. A business can give to the church, but don't take money from the church to run a business. So, and there are some, situations where things have gone wrong and the people have gotten into trouble. Now, in order to manage my finances, to keep track of it, it's recommended, to use a software system. So everything is recorded, right? So here in India, we use Tally, which is quite well known, and it's used in India, or you can use any other software. The thing is that if you record everything in your system, and especially if there are a lot of transactions happening, then it's easy to account for it. It's easy to get a report, pull it out of the system. It's easy for you to work with the numbers, right? So always try to, as soon as possible. In the early days, maybe the transactions are not many. You can write it in a notebook, handwrite it, or an Excel sheet will be fine. But at some point when the ministry grows, amounts are increasing, transactions increasing, you should move to using an accounting system. Right? And there are various options available. The next two things I've mentioned here are more from an accountant perspective. So you don't have to worry about it. But generally, you make sure the accountant, they follow a double entry bookkeeping system. So when transactions are recorded in both sides, income and expense, credit and debit, right? And it kind of becomes an automatic cross check within the system. So it's not for you to understand, but just make sure that the accountant is using that kind of a bookkeeping system. And also, what's often referred to as a general ledger. Right? So that means in the general ledger, funds are given accounting heads. Like, okay, this is for Bible College. Then under Bible College, there will be other heads like food, whatever, rents, and so things. So every transaction in the general ledger will fall under a head or a subheading. So if we want to know how much money was spent by the Bible College, it's very easy, because everything has been put under that heading. Or if you want to know how much has been spent or has come in a certain heading, missions, youth, for church rent, this, very simple. It's easy for us to immediately know. Right? So using general ledger and having funds where the money is going. So I, as a pastor, I will tell the accountant, hey, this is how we want to manage the money. Right? That means these are the headings that we will follow, and these are the subheadings, so that any money coming in, money going out, is recorded under those headings. Because when I want to see a report, I want to see it a certain way. I want to know, for example, publications. I want to know how much money we spend in publications. But I also like to know how much was spent for printing, how much was spent for translation, how much was spent for shipping, sending the books out. I would like to know how much was spent per language, English or Hindi or any of the other languages. So I would like to know these details, because then I know where our money is actually going, where we're actually putting effort. So then the accountant can give me those reports. If we have been putting it under a proper ledger, under proper heading. So the beginning itself, you tell, I want it like this. So overall, every year, and then especially at the end of the year, we will have a lot of reports. So we want to know for every conference how much we spent, how much was the total expense, how much was money that came in terms of contributions towards that conference. So we know what was the actual expense. So these are reports that the accountant will be able to give, because we are putting it properly into the system. And for them, it's easy. They can bring it out. So it's important that you tell the accountant, I want money to be put in like this because I want to see these reports. And I'll tell you, there are reports that come every month, and I'll explain. Now, you need to have a finance department, meaning some people who do the work, right? So we typically, we have an internal accountant. So in the beginning, early days, one person used to come and work just a few hours a week and go. That was very little work. Then as time went on, so we just had a consultant. So you'll just come, do the accounting and go. After some time, the work started increasing. And I'm trying to think, but I think it must have been somewhere in 2017. So maybe after 16, 17 years, we decided to hire a full-time accountant. So till that time, you were only having a consultant, somebody who will come and work a few days. Initially, it used to be a few hours, then it became a few days. That's all. That's all the work was. Entering it into the system, managing all the bills, everything, all that, making payments, all that. But then around 2017, we said, hey, the work has become so much. We need a full-time person. So we hired a full-time accountant. Then also we have, in addition to our own accountant, every week we have a person who's coming from an outside accounting firm who will check everything. Right? So literally we have, every week we have to have two people who are working. That is very good, because if one person misses something, the other person will catch it. And the other person is from an outside accounting company, right? So they're not our own staff. So there's a check and a balance that, hey, every week things are being checked. And then the same accountant, at the end of the month, so our internal accountant will make all the payments, all the vendors, make all the salary payments, everything. The external accountant will check everything and generate the reports every month. So there are two reports they will send to me by the 7th of the month. One is called an income expense report. It's a spreadsheet. Everything, all the income, all the expense. Right? Another report is receipts and payments. Okay, well, what all be billed and this all be paid. And in that income expense, there are summary charts, which means I can look at it and immediately know last month how much came in, how much went out, all of those things. It gives me a quick idea. So I can look at the reports. It's okay, everything is fine. Fine. But if I see anything concerning, I will ask questions. I'll call our accountant, say, hey, or I'll email them. Hey, can you explain this? What happened? Why did we spend more here? Those kinds of things. So questions. So The thing is, we have to keep a check, right, on what's happening all the time. We don't want something to slip up. Something is not right, immediately ask questions. Right? Then twice a year, every 6 months is an audit. That means, so we have two accountants who are working all the time. There will be a third, another company, separate audit company. So we have an external accountant, there's another auditor. They will send two people and they will check everything for the last 6 months. Full, they'll check. So there's an audit, check everything from a separate company. Yeah? Two people come check everything. And they're also like our consultants. When we have any questions, anything, we'll ask both the external auditors and our accounting external company. Basically to follow the rules. Because the income tax rules, the government rules keep changing every year, something. So we just want to make sure we are following the rules. So we need these people, right? We ask questions and they will tell us, you can do this, you cannot do this. You can use your money like this, you cannot use it. Because we're a religious organization, we have to follow the government rules for a religious organization. So every 6 months. Then at the end of the finance, then that audit report is sent to me. We'll have a meeting. So I meet with our internal accountant. I talk all the time. Every week we are talking, discussing things. The external accountant, again, we are talking constantly. Calls are happening. But there's a formal meeting once a year. We'll say, okay, how was the year? Everything okay? Any issues? Any problems? Things like that. So there are weekly checks, monthly checks, every 6 months audit, annual audited report is given. And that annual audited report is also released on our website. So it's made available to people. Right? So this is what happens. Okay. So it is like a big work by itself that is happening just to make sure money is kept properly. Because anything goes wrong, they'll get one letter from income tax department. They have a right to question anything. Going back 7 years or more sometimes. So we have to keep our accounts ready. Anytime they can send a letter and say, hey, something happened in 2000 some year. What was it? Come and answer. Now, I can't go personally, but that's where these external auditors they know what's happening because they've been following it. They'll go, they'll explain everything, satisfy, and come back. But the government can ask questions anytime about anything in our finances. So we are answerable to them. And if we don't keep our accounts in order, that's when government will take action. Then we cannot call it persecution. Because it is not their fault. Correct. If we have not kept our accounts in proper order, and they're asking questions, or sometimes they'll come personally to check, audit. We can't call it persecution. They're doing their job. So it's better that all our reports are perfect, everything is submitted, and we have answers for the questions. But in spite of it, they will still send letters. Just to make us know that they are watching. And we have to go and answer. So that's the way, at least in India, it happens that way. So 2-person rule. So all transactions, it's important that at least 2 people should be involved. That's why we have 2 people checking everything. So have at least 2 people. A receipt of offering, contributions. I think I shared this with you, how offering is counted in the church premises itself, entered in the books. That copy is sent to the church office. Again, it's checked. Then it's deposited. The receipt is brought back. Again, it's checked. So everything is checked, twice. These days, benefit is most people do giving through bank or through online. So it goes straight to the bank. No problem, no issues. Okay. And it's important within the organization to have proper policies on how you will work with vendors. So we have different people who would supply different things. So we have a vendor verification process. That means they have to sign a document saying they will not do anything wrong when working with us. What they do with other people is their business. But when they're working with us, everything has to be clean. That they'll sign. Only then we engage with them. For purchases, so any purchase of more than 5,000 rupees, it'll come to me for approval. So anything below 5,000, our accountant will just handle it, and it's fine. Anything more than that will come to me for approval. I'll check, I approve, then the accountant will disperse. Payment priority for us, we have a commitment that all bills will be paid within 2 days. So you send us a bill, within 2 days we'll make a payment. So that's our commitment. Now, most organizations take 30 days. But I said we don't need 30 days. We will, because vendors, they deserve to be paid, right? So as soon as they send us their bill, we'll pay it within 48 hours. We'll pay it. Payroll always happens on the last day of the month. Very strict. We don't want our staff to be delayed. So on the last day of the month, everybody gets paid. And consultants will get paid by the 3rd of the month because they have to send in their timesheets, and then the things are calculated and paid. Expense claim. That means if people spend money, their own money for something on the church, then they have to give us the bills. Then the bills are all checked, and then they are reimbursed. Yeah. And tax payments. So as an organization, we have to, our main tax is what is called as TDS, tax deduction at source. So we have to pay that. And also when vendors charge us, they charge us GST, which is a rule. So we have to cover that. We have to pay for that, pay that. So we follow the rules. Right? And petty cash. If we try to avoid dealing with cash, but sometimes, we have to make cash payments, and everything is signed and on a receipt, so that there's a proper record of cash payments. Otherwise, we avoid it. Right? Y'all with me so far? You're getting bored? Huh? Oh, okay. Because I know, like talking money. Okay. So, budget. Now, this is. See, I can't share all these documents with you because it is all financial information. But I think if you see it, you'll actually understand all this. But here's the thing. How we work is based on previous year's work. Every year, right, we have all these conferences happening, all these expenses are happening, almost the same expense happening every year. So we will prepare, our accountant will have a budget for the coming year, calendar year. And for every event, conference or ministry, we will have we'll allocate a certain amount. Right? And we will tell the person who is heading that area of ministry, this is the budget that you can spend for that ministry. Right? Especially the ones that have huge amounts of money. So, for example, publications. We might spend up to 2 crores per year on our books. Sometimes we do less. Like this year, we said, first, let's do just one, let's keep it for within 1 crore for the year. But then what happened was lots of churches, lots of ministries were asking. And even especially now, this time of the year, the requests for our books have just gone up, because there are conferences happening, and during Christmas time, they want to, give to their congregation. So then we actually increased our budget for our books this year. We pushed it up to, we said, let's see if we can stay within 1.5 crores. Last year, I think we did 2 crores. So what we do is we say, okay, this is how much we want to spend. And of course, we can adjust it depending on what's going on. But for every conference, we know, okay, this is how many people will come. So this is what the expense is. So we'll tell, okay, for this this is your budget. So we'll tell the ministry leader or the pastor and our events coordinator, work within this budget. Try to keep it down. Find ways to reduce it, but work within this amount. So for every event or program, the ministry leader will have to send us the budgets, which is basically a spreadsheet with all the items on which they're going to spend money, including renting their hall, food, then, whatever other things that are needed for the event. Everything's itemized. This is the amount. This is what can be approved. Right? So if it falls within the budget, we will approve it. Right? If you feel like, okay, there's too much way above, then we'll go back to, we'll say, please cut down whatever you can. So we'll work on that. So the budget is approved for every event, every ministry area. And then they go ahead with the events. Right? So we have an overall budget for the church, for the whole thing we know. Then for every event, there's a budget. And people work within that. So they know how much they can spend. Sometimes it comes under the budget, great. Sometimes it goes a little over. That's a little over 5, 10, 20,000. It's okay. There will be some unexpected expenses. Or sometimes the attendance may be more than what we expect. It's a good thing that more people came. So obviously, food and costs and all those went up. But it's a good thing, right? So next year we can plan that, okay, this is how many people will come. This is what the cost will be, right? And whenever people give an offering for a particular event or something, then it is used as an expense towards that. Used to cover expenses for that event. Right? So all this is being tracked inside. Internally, everything is being tracked. So we call it designated giving. When people give towards something, it's tracked. And so the way we allocate, so we have a general fund. So when people give tithes and offerings, everything goes into the general fund. Sometimes when people give, they give to a particular fund, like designated. We call it designated giving. That means they say, please use this money for books. Please use this money to support churches in North India, outreach churches. Please use this money for Bible College. Please use this money for this particular conference. So we call it designated giving. So when that kind of giving comes, it goes into that header. So first, we will use that money towards the expense. So spend that first. Spend the designated giving first. When that runs out, then use it from the general fund. Allocate from the general fund. They were already allocated from the general fund. It's already there. For every ministry, it's there. But first, we will use the designated giving, then use the general fund money. You understood, no? How it works. Auditing, I told you, weekly, monthly, semi-annual audit, which happens, page 46. Now this auditing is very important because to check, how things happen. And financial reports. So like every month, I get these 2 reports. Annually, we'll have an audited report, and we also put it out on our website on apcw.org/financials. Now, some few things before we close. Excess funds. So the good thing here at APC is, and thank God for it, we have excess funds. That means every year, of course, because we are managing things. If you just spend blindly, you won't know what is there. But because we are managing things, we end up with more funds than we have spent, and we can keep it with us, take it forward. But the Indian government has certain rules. about that means for religious trusts. That means you cannot keep too much excess funds. They also have rules. That means so basically this, it's like this. Whatever money you have received within 5 years of receiving it, you have to use it. They don't let you keep that money. But otherwise, what will happen? People can simply form religious organizations and use it to store their money. So they're trying to avoid people misusing religious trust for those purposes, right? So the rule is you have to use up all the money within 5 years, and you can carry over only 20%. That means if it's beyond 20%, they'll ask questions. A letter will come. So example, see, for our building fund, we've been collecting money for years. So we have to explain to them, hey, that money is actually building fund. We can only spend it after we find the land. So we are searching for the land. And it took us quite some time. We can only spend it after we find the land. And once we do the construction, that's why that amount of money is being kept there. You have to explain. Otherwise, they'll ask, why so much? Something is going on here. But it's good they're checking, right? It's good they're checking. But these are rules we have to be aware of. And we have to give an explanation. Okay, so building fund, once the projects are, all the money will be used up. Okay, fine. But they'll be watching. So excess funds, we have to follow government rules or whatever rules are here in India. And we can only keep it in bank deposits. We can't go and invest it in stock market, mutual fund, those kinds of things. Simple bank deposit you keep, but that gives good interest, so it helps. And we keep it there. So we can't put it in private business. All those things not allowed. Okay? Some other things that we have followed here at APC is we do not specifically let our individual ministries do fundraising. That means we don't allow any ministry at APC, like say publications or to come and appeal for money from the congregation. We don't allow that. Simply, and this decision was made right in the beginning, simply because we don't want competition between our own ministries. Who can raise more money? Can publications, can missions, can whatever, children's or teens or youth, or who can raise more money? No competition. We have one ministry. So from the general fund, whatever you need to do your work, we will give to you based on what's available. But don't waste. It should go meaningfully. And yes, some ministries will need more money than the others because of what they're doing, like publications. Our publications is helping a lot of people. It goes to all across India, churches, so on and so forth. And it costs money, but it's worth it. So like that, as a church, we don't do any internal fundraising by ministries because we don't want competition. Right? So not even I will sell dosa and raise money. No need. No fundraising allowed. What comes to us, we will distribute to all the ministries and do our work. Okay? So the reason is we don't want competition between ministries. We're all one team. Right? And last is follow the government regulations. We are filing income tax. So like I said, 85% must be used within the year. So sorry, I said 20, but it's actually only 15 and that you can carry over. And excess funds must be used within 5 years. Okay. So that's about it for finances. Any questions? Well, let's have some time for questions. Anything on how we manage our money and any questions? Any questions online? And those online, any?
Pastor,
Diksha.
so the designated funds you don't keep in the reports from before, or like you keep it from the before?
Sorry, designated funds, will we keep it will we show it in the report?
No, like the general funds will be there, and you would allow for the every area of the ministry, like this amount you can use for the particular ministry. So for the designate fund will come. So that also you will include, or
Yeah. So I understand. So let's say publications. So if we have a budget, say 1.5 crore for publications in this year, 2025. That is what we have from general fund we will spend. Suppose we get designated money. Somebody gives and they say, example, just give an example. Please use 20 lakhs for, they give contribution 20 lakhs for publications. Then we don't need to spend that 20 lakhs from the general. So we'll keep it back in the general fund till we spend that 20 lakhs. We'll spend that 20 lakhs first, like the designated amount we'll spend first. And then we'll continue spending till we hit 1.5. So when there's designated giving, we know we have that extra amount we can spend. And if suppose our budget was 1.5, but maybe because of the demand, we have to go to 1.7. It's okay because somebody gave 20 lakhs extra. Fine, no problem. It's not a issue for us because we had planned for 1.5. Somebody has given 20 lakhs extra, so we can go till 1.7. That much we can do. So we can spend. If we don't spend, then that we save 20 lakhs in the general fund, which we can use next year for anything. That's how it works. Question? Yes. Online, any questions?
First, for the excess funds, did government allow to keep multiple accounts?
We can keep as number of
Yeah.
accounts we
So
want.
the thing is like this 15% amount the rest of the amount we need to spend. So if we have multiple accounts, can this number changes, or still all the accounts we need to give 50% only?
Yeah. Overall, they'll see.
Overall, not
So,
each account 15%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can't pull them. So yeah. So we do have APC, for example. We do have multiple accounts. One is some banks make it easier to make salary payments. Like instead of paying each person individually, you upload an Excel sheet and they'll just do it. So that's why we use HDFC Bank. So they have that facility. They make it easy for us that way. So because they give different facilities. So we have that. Biju, for taking major financial, should there be a meeting of board of trustees and we should let know the government about it? So, yeah. So for certain decisions, a lot of decisions are approved just by us. Like, I would look at it, I'll approve the budget. Our accountant Geeta now, she looks at it, it's all goes. But there are certain things that actually go through our trustees. So for example, especially when it's big amount. So there are two things actually that go through our trustee. One is called our generosity funds, right? Which is we have money which will be used to help people. Generosity fund, like people in need, because it involves a review process. That means the person has to tell us their need and why they want that so much money. And so it's not like, okay, it's just an expense. It's more like we're giving money to somebody, an individual or a family. So in order to avoid any kind of bias, that those things go to the trustee. So if all trustees say okay, or most of them say okay, then we will go ahead with it. So it goes. Plus big expense, like buying lands, those things. it will have to be signed off by the trustees. So those things go through the trustee, they all sign, then we spend, because we need to have a record. And the government can ask, did the trustees approve this? Big amounts. Small amounts which are regular expenses, okay, because it's a recurring expense, rent and this, that, and also. But it's bigger expense like buying land or something big, it goes to the trustee. All the trustees will sign. So the government can, in some areas, our auditors will tell us, hey, for this, you better get everybody to sign and keep a record. In case government asks, we have to show that it was approved by the trustees. So those things we have to do. Yeah, so that's the answer there. Yeah. Question was, you going to ask a question? No. All right. Anyone else? Fine. So we have some small chapters left. One is on legal side. I'll just share a few things, not much, but just some things next week. We'll cover the legal side, and just a few thoughts there on managing projects. Again, not it's not like a project management course, but just a few things there. And then finally, I will share a little bit on what technology we are using. I'll just mention those things. Next semester, we'll have a full course on media and technology, so we'll get into details. So I think we'll be done with the course in 2 more weeks. After that, you'll have a very difficult final exam. So I'm just joking. So I think we should be done, by end of this month, in 2 weeks, by 28th. We would have covered anything. So please think about any questions you want to ask. Please ask me before 28th. 28th should be our last class. And then we'll just have a exam. The exam will be a review of everything in this course. So just use the notes too. Right. Let's close for today. Thank you, everyone. Yes.